for you are the king, Blue Eagle, the king. Blue Eagle fight today. Blue Eagle fight today, today. Blue Eagle fight today. Blue Eagle fight. Blue Eagle fight today. Blue Eagle fight today. Blue Eagle fight today.
At 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, katipunan, radyo, katipunan, radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay Atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng pera. Radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, katipunan, katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, tulong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, 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 katipunan, radyo, katipunan, radyo, katipunan.
Hello everyone, I am Sammy, your daily dose of energy, and welcome back to another week of meaningful conversations with our beloved organizations right here at Kwentuhang MVP. We are coming to you loud and live from our homes via the Facebook pages of Radio-Katipunan, 87.9 FM, Ateneo de Manila University, and of course, the Council of Organizations of Ateneo Manila. You can also stream us via Radio Katipunan's YouTube channel at Radio-Katipunan FM, and we are coming in via audio streams at Shoutcast online station all around the world, so just search Radio Katipunan. We are also transmitting via the 87.9 frequency, so tune in if you are within the 2-kilometer radius within Ateneo de Manila campus. So it's been a long while since we've had the last KMV episode. Last November, we had an SBC takeover where we checked in with Kite, Musmus, and Speed and Tugon, where we spoke to them in depth of the unique org life experiences in Ateneo, along with the other programs of their orgs had going on. It was truly a blast, and we're so excited to bring back KMVP with new and exciting episodes for you guys. And for our March comeback, we'll be continuing with a slew of relevant and fun topics. For this episode, it's all about celebrating Women's Month, so we'll be talking to two very empowered and inspiring women of our org community who are ready to share their experience as student leaders. Without further ado, please welcome Jennifer Clemente of Ateneo Association of Communication Majors, or ACOM, as well as Maria Arce, the Ateneo Assembly. Ladies, please introduce yourselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen. I'm from 4ABCom and I'm the president of ACOM.
Hi everyone, I'm Myra Joanna Arce from 3AB Political Science, Masters in Public Management, and the Politicization Director of Ateneo Assembly.
Hello, so we're so happy to have you guys here, and it's actually been a while since we've aired an episode, and we're into the second half of the school year. So how have you guys been settling into the second semester, and now that we're actually nearing the midterms?
I'm okay. It's thesis season for me, so that's what we've been focusing on. A lot of org projects also happening this semester, so we're really just struggling a bit, but we're doing well. We're coping.
I think same with Jen. The organization has been really busy with a lot of the projects in the second semester, but as a student, there's also quite a lot going on. Second semester has been quite difficult, so I hope we're all coping.
That's right. I do hope we're all coping. So second semester has been so heavy recently, and we did have a lot of events, and we're gonna have more, so that's something to look forward to in our orgs. So Ateneo is finally starting to slowly open its campus to the students of different levels. So are you guys excited to get back and see the campus again?
Of course, the last time I was on campus was maybe like 2 years ago. So I'm excited to see it again, see how it's changed and how it stayed the same. So yes.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to see the campus, but I think I'm not sure if organization activities will be allowed already. So I think that's kind of like the sad side of it.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to go back to the way we used to be, definitely. So we might have to stay online with our org activities, but we're looking forward to whatever's coming. So how do you guys feel right now, given that we're celebrating Women's Month?
For me, I guess I just feel really empowered, especially seeing a lot of the orgs putting out their own content with regards to Women's Month. And it's nice to see how they're empowering women from their own organizations and everything. So, yes.
I think for me, very simple, but it really makes me happy that we can celebrate something like this right now. Like, we have come a long way. There's still a lot of things to be done, but we have come a long way that we can actually have a month where women can celebrate each other.
That's right. Like, I always look forward to March when I found out what Women's Month was, because it just makes me feel a certain way of empowered, different from the other months, of course, because it's about women and how we are powerful too. Okay, so moving on, could you guys walk me through the specific positions you have in your organizations and what you do?
So I'm the president of ACOM. Basically, what I do is oversee all of the happenings in ACOM. I have to oversee all of the units and make sure the members are doing well, and that we're staying on track with our calendar and everything. So yes, how about you, Mai?
For me, I'm the Politicization Director of Ateneo Assembly, and since Assembly is a political organization for and the home org of Poli-Sci majors, I think what I really do is direct the politicization efforts of the organization. So when we put out statements and where we engage in specific political discourse, local and international. So basically, that's what I do in the organization.
I think it's honestly so cool that to see women and student leaders in general take up such positions. So how did your passion for leadership in your org begin? Because I love to hear org backstories, especially here in Kmvp.
For me, how I got into ACOM in the first place is one of my friends just asked me to be an officer. Like, she was the Secretary General, and then she just messaged me one day, "Do you want to be an AVP?" And I said yes. And then the following year I was VP, and then this year I'm the president. So that's really how it came about. It was honestly just because I enjoyed being with everyone in ACOM, our community, and our, like, it's so corny to say, but I really just love the family vibe that we have in ACOM. So yeah, I think that's why I kept coming back to ACOM also. It's just, I love it.
That's I think that's very interesting. Then I think also for me, I started to enjoy the work that I do in assembly. So initially, I didn't want to be involved in Ateneo Assembly, even though it's my home organization. But during sophomore year, I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. I'll try to apply for like a deputy position. I got accepted, and there were a lot of things that I was able to do, and I started enjoying the political aspect of it and the organization aspect of it. And then I said, okay, then I will try to run for this position that I'm here right now. And it's as months pass by, I realized how much the experience that I have here in the organization have been, really helping me learn in a lot of ways.
Actually, I also have a similar experience to both of you because, like Jen, I'm also in ACOM since that's my home org, and I actually I was also asked to head like be a program head, and I was a bit hesitant at first, but in the end I was like, okay, I'll just try, and I got it. So, I think that's where it starts talaga with a little nudge. And as for what Mai said, I agree na sometimes, at the start it's a bit like I don't know if I'll enjoy this, but it's all about taking a leap of faith and trying. Yeah. Okay, so to start with this episode's theme, what is it like being a woman student leader in Ateneo?
Like I said a while ago, it's really empowering to be a woman student leader in Ateneo, especially since, Ateneo has its roots as being an all-boys school. And then now I'm the president of the communication org in Ateneo. It's such a empowering feeling that I get to be in this position, especially with all the women who were also the presidents of this org. It's just a long legacy of women being empowered enough to take up a position like this. It's not the easiest thing to do. So yes.
I think it's also very interesting that communication and politics are arena both dominated by men before, like, ages ago. And I think that's very interesting because right now, being a woman student leader in Ateneo, it doesn't really bother me anymore. Just within the Ateneo campus, I'm like, this is normal. There are a lot of women student leaders in Ateneo. So honestly, being a woman doesn't really affect like my day-to-day or responsibilities, but it's honestly amazing to see that a lot of women are taking up that kind of position.
Yeah, I remember when I first got to Ateneo and it was the COA Rec Week, right? And I noticed that a lot of the student leaders, top positions were women, and that felt so amazing for me because I always thought, na, I should just try for something like a secretary or something like that because that's a more like girly kind of position. But it's so nice to see Ateneo is very welcoming with women student leaders. So the Ateneo, like what I said, the community here, they've been very progressive in terms of women student leaders in our community. But have you ever had any kind of struggles or challenges that you had to go through as a women student leader?
For me, luckily, I've had almost little to no experiences of that. But once in a while, there is some conversations that I have with other officers, and I just know that I'm being judged because I'm a woman, because I'm a leader in this org and I'm a woman, that they feel like they can sometimes step over me and just cut corners. But I stand my ground. So I know how to deal with it. So in that sense, I don't think I really struggled with it. It's just that it happens, but I've learned to deal with it, which is also kind of sad, but it's okay.
For me, I guess same with Jen. There are like microaggressions wherein you're being judged because you're a woman. But majority of the Ateneo Assembly Executive Board are women. So there's only one guy on board. But in my office, all of my deputies are men. So it doesn't really affect me, but of course there's like a different level of connection that you have when you are with your fellow women. But I guess in that sense, it's kind of internal struggle wherein can I do this? Am I equipped to do this job, or am I ready to make this decision? There's always that need for affirmation because you're not so sure with what you're doing, if what you're doing is right. So it's a lot of it is internal.
And
Actually,
can I just add? I just wanted to clarify. It's not that I have a lot of these like struggles or like these misunderstandings with my officers. It's just it happens once in a while because, like Mai said, there's that different level of connection with our officers or who are members who are men. It's just a different communication, like plane talaga, that when you talk to them, it's different from how you talk to your women counterparts. So yeah, there's just something about it, but it really doesn't happen often.
I think it's all about perspective. It's kind of hard to put yourself in another person's shoes if you haven't been there. So I think, at some point, it's okay to a small extent to have those kinds of interactions. But I really like that you mentioned about internalizing it, because I understand that a lot of us actually go through that. We have a lot of self-doubt, like, can I actually do this? But that goes for a lot of things, like a lot of different topics as well, not just women empowerment. But it's nice that we're able to overcome it and just take the leap. Okay, so the next question is actually something that's very related to this month. So we want to hear, what is women empowerment for you?
Women empowerment for me, I guess, is this is a hard question actually. I guess it's like helping the women around me reach their goals, because I know that people before me, the women before me, have also helped me do the same thing, and just helping each other reach that certain goal that they have in mind is women empowerment for me.
For me, I think women empowerment has been kind of downplayed in a lot of situations wherein there is a woman leader. Okay, woman empowerment, and there are women leaders, so women empowerment. Women empowerment has to be something institutional. There's a lot of things that we can deal with it, but through the years, I think the idea or the concept of women empowerment has been diluted into something that is kind of shallow, and it's sad. But at the same time, we're always moving forward. So there's still a lot of things to be done with women empowerment being an advocacy.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that, because I also noticed how women in leadership positions can count as women empowerment now, but women empowerment is still activism. You still have to be doing something in order for it to be actual empowerment. Otherwise, it's just women in power. It's not like, I don't know how else to explain it, but you know what, I think you guys get me naman, na parang we can't just stand by and watch women struggle to get what they want. We need to make avenues, we need to make ways for them to reach what they want. It's not just us standing there watching them struggle. So yes.
Yeah, super agree that women empowerment, even though we have a lot of things now because of our, more progressive society, we can't stop because we have to keep moving and we have to get to a position where it's equity, like we have the same platforms, and that's something that's super important. And one of the ways to get there is actually through organizations in our community. So that leads me to asking, what do you think is the importance of women taking up space in organizations in Ateneo?
Um, I think it's just the fact that women women taking up space in organizations allows us to have a voice. It allows us to be heard and actually have events that caters to making sure that there is gender equality in our community. Uh, Aside from that, it's like, you know, it can't just all be men who are leading and taking up space because hindi naman talaga ganun in the real world. So yeah, it's just how it should be.
Um, I'd like to echo that part wherein there's a voice. So there's a representation, kumbaga, of the sector. So that's very important. Ateneo organizations have a variety of like advocacy. So we have organization for politics, communication, science, and all these arena. And it's crucial that women are there because women also excel in those uh, spaces. Women's voice are necessary to be heard in those spaces. And I think in that sense, it also allows us to, become unapologetic about the space that we take up. So we're like, I'm here because I'm capable, So, and you get to also make a point, especially to, freshies and future students in the Ateneo, that you can do it. I was able to be to become this leader and take up this position, and it's possible for you. So there's also that sense of inspiration and just kind of paving the way for other members of the community.
Yeah, I think what you said about representation, that's super important for me as well, because we are very different people and we think very differently. So even women, between women, we have very different thoughts, but just having that person that can represent your echo similar ideas, well, that's already a step forward. Okay, so because this episode is all about women, celebrating Women's Month and women empowerment, I'd like to ask if you guys can tell me a little something that you've seen in women empowerment in Ateneo, whether through orgs or other areas.
I think I mentioned it a while ago, but a lot of orgs, especially this month, we've been like posting a lot about Women's Month. We've been posting like women in our orgs that make us feel empowered, women in our orgs who've helped the org grow, and things like that. Especially now that we're just online, I feel like those things are nice to see around. I think that when we were still back on site, I didn't see as many posts like that. So I feel like there's an online aspect that helped us bring about the celebration of Women's Month in a more public sense. So yeah, I think that's what I've been seeing.
I think for me, it's more of well, no, first of all, our Sangguniang president is a woman, and there is that there is no questioning of are you capable because because you're a woman, and the person who before you was like a man. So there are those spaces that Jen mentioned, but also I think a lot of the movement that we have here in Ateneo, we're becoming critical about the things that we do, about women empowerment in general. And I think that's very important. Criticizing what our own movements are, and looking at how we can actually improve them. So I think there's no single effort that I could say that I've seen, but it's more of a collective thing that Ateneo has been progressing towards too, which is very good to see.
Yeah, I think it's really important that our community has these kinds of people. And I like that you mentioned the our Sangguniang president, that she's a woman. I feel like that's something that a lot of people look towards because she's also a sophomore. And that's really, I was shocked when I found out that she was that young. And I'm not in Sangguniang, but when I found that out, I was like, that's really nice to hear, because not only is she a woman, but she's young. So that's super inspiring to other people. All right. So now it's actually time to move on to our next segment. How true and blue are you? Okay, so it looks like there. Okay, so did you guys hear that sound? That is our Ateneo bell. So it looks like we're time to start our new segment. So this segment is actually just a mini game, and it's really simple. So I'll ask you guys some Ateneo related questions and other trivia questions that you guys have to answer. So instead of a buzzer, please say your name out loud to answer, and you will be given only 5 seconds to answer correctly. Otherwise, the other guest may steal. The first person to get 5 points win. Are you guys ready to start?
Game.
Okay.
Game. I'm scared.
Are you competitive?
Me too.
Because I'm competitive, even though
I'm
the one-
competitive, but I don't think I know a lot about
Same,
Ateneo.
same.
Okay, let's start. So the first question is, what is the name of the contact tracing application you have to download to enter the Ateneo campus?
My
Okay, go ahead.
Blue Pass.
That's correct.
Didn't know it.
No, she was starting out and she's like, I'm competitive. Okay, but you can get back with this next question. So this was actually mentioned earlier this episode. What month did the last episode of Kmvp air? And I'll give you guys a bonus if you can guess the exact date. Oh no.
My. I go
Okay.
Jen. Okay. I think November, but I don't know the exact date.
She's right again. It's November. That's right. It's November, actually. It was on November 26th, right before we entered our finals month period. Okay, and the third question. Aside from Women's Month, what else are we observing for this month of March in the Philippines? This is actually hard. I didn't know the answer of this until I read the answers. So you can just take a wild guess. Oh no, I can feel.
My.
Oh, okay.
But this is like a super guess. Campaign season.
No.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, it's not campaign season. Okay, go ahead.
It's gonna sound dumb, but Lent.
No, she tried to say that in a straight face, but it's unfortunately not Lent, even though we are also observing Lent. Okay. There, we have a little hint in our chat box. Okay, there's a fire there. You guys can understand and
Then?
decipher. Okay, go ahead.
The start of summer.
No, it's not the start of summer, even though it's already getting so hot. Alright. Mai, do you wanna try?
I really have no idea. Fire? Really no idea. There's elections vibes in my brain.
It's the political science. We love it. Okay, but since no one can get it, I'll say the answer. So actually, the other thing we are observing in this month of March is a fire prevention month. Do you guys know what that is? Well, I also don't, but it's about, preventing fires and having your extinguishers ready, I guess. Alright, so our next question, I'm sure you guys know this and it's paunahan na lang talaga. So in Ateneo, what office goes by the acronym LSOPCS?
Then,
Okay.
okay, Loyola School's Office of Placement and Career Services.
That's correct.
Tama?
Oh,
Yes.
the first
I
point.
know it.
Amazing. Okay. I'm sure this one you guys know as well. I don't know this because I've never been on campus. But what is the name of the building usually referred to as the New Rizal Library in Ateneo?
Then,
Okay.
First Pacific Hall, something like that.
Yes, that's correct. Oh, so you guys tied. That's unfortunate. Although I don't think we have a prize, but thank you so much for your participation. You know, it's amazing. All the energy, all the competitiveness. Even though you guys tied. Okay, so with that, let's go a bit broader with our discussion. So we're moving on to our next question now of how different do you think the environment of Ateneo or culture is to the real world, if they are at all different, especially in your perspective as a women student leader?
Well, honestly, I think that it is a little bit different, especially since in Ateneo, like we mentioned a while ago, it's pretty progressive in Ateneo. And in some companies in the real world, I don't think it's that progressive, the real world. I've had an internship before, especially for, during practicum. And, I was lucky enough to find a company where most of the executives are women. So it was a good and healthy work environment. But I know that some of my friends, especially some of my blockmates, still experience some misogyny in the workplace, especially even if they're just interns. Actually, they might be facing more prejudice because they are interns and they're not like full employees yet. But that's another discussion altogether. So yeah, and especially we've also had talks with professionals, and they've told us that it takes more effort for them to reach the positions that they have compared to their male counterparts. So yeah, I think that there's really a big difference still.
Yeah, I agree with Jen in that sense, wherein, we can get a little bit hopeful because in Ateneo, the women leaders are not really prejudiced against, generally speaking. But, in the workplace, there's still a lot of sexism and misogyny anywhere you look, basically. So, for example, right now, women in politics or women in, corporate world. So, when you take up space, it feels like they will tell you that it's too much, that you're being too much. So there's still a lot of things to be done. We can be shocked when we go outside and realize that, oh no, this Ateneo bubble does not extend to the outside world. There's still a lot of things happening outside, and for example, women who get, for example, pregnant women are expected, step down of their position or take that maternity leave and not take, much responsibility even after delivering the baby. When they go back to their work, they're expected to, let go of their position and become housewives. So there is that, social expectation, also largely rooted to the culture of the Philippines. So it's really difficult, I guess, to resolve that issue. But we're always moving forward.
Actually, I've also heard that notion about women when they come back from their maternity leave, and that just made me so sad because when they come back from maternity leave, that's when they're ready to come back. And so it's kind of sad when where they kind of go easy on them and give them like lesser work when they want to come back to actual work. And yeah, I agree that it's actually two different things, the Ateneo art culture and the real world. But I think it's a step forward, especially since being from a community that there's not much prejudice against women being leaders. That's something that we can actually apply when we get into the real world. And I think that's something that a lot of people can actually look towards when they step into the corporate. Yeah. Okay, so as leaders, how have your orgs and Ateneo help you empower yourselves as women?
For me, I think, because in ACOM, majority of our officers and even our project members, most of us are women. So just seeing how easy it is for us now to get positions like that, it's kind of empowering. Just that, and knowing that I am capable of holding a position like this, especially when I graduate. When I get a job, I know that I have this capability of being a leader and leading other people. So it's just it's nice that we have opportunities like this because people in previous generations didn't. So being in Ateneo and being in ACOM specifically helped me this way.
I think for me, working with, like I said a while ago, my deputies are all men. Working with men who support, women empowerment, who are also working towards that movement, has been definitely empowering. They trust your decision as a leader. They don't question your position. Those are very empowering situations wherein you are treated as an equal and you are treated according to the position that you hold and not necessarily according to your gender. So that has been very empowering for me personally.
I agree. Like, I think when people believe in you despite your gender, that's something that's super empowering here in the community, our community especially, because in other like aspects that's not like common. Even though now it's getting better, but it's a bit more prevalent in Ateneo where it's normal for a girl to lead. So yeah, I like what you mentioned about that. So with the learning experience from your participation in your orgs, what will you take with you as a woman after you leave Ateneo when you venture out into other things?
For me, I don't think this is really just me as a woman, but in general, I think that when you venture out and do other things, you need to know your worth and just make sure you fight for yourself, be an advocate for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's just you against the entire world. Just knowing your worth and making sure that people know that that is already a lot. It'll benefit you more ways than not. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, or if you're scared of standing up for yourself, it's worth speaking up. It's just really worth it. Because if you don't, you're going to be suffering the consequences long term, instead of that one moment where you have to stand up for yourself and say, I deserve more than this. It's a lot to just say what you need to say.
Aside from what Jen mentioned, I think number one, of course, is take up space. So don't apologize for the space that you're taking up. Because, like I said a while ago, there are many times when we can doubt ourselves. And then another one would be, continue working for that advocacy. As someone, within the Ateneo as well as in a political organization, we all have to recognize the privilege that we have. That, we are lucky and we are privileged to be in a university that allows us, or that welcomes student leaders, and possibly we will be privileged enough to go in a company that has specific policies that will safeguard women's rights and the abilities that we have. But there are other women who, number one, can't go to school. There are women who are in universities that are, misogynistic and sexist in nature, or women in universities or organizations who can't take up positions pushed aside, and possibly women in workplace wherein they are not treated with respect. So, as as a student leader right now, it's important to recognize the privilege and always continue working towards that beyond LS and with all the work that we do. I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I saw Jen mouthing yes. And do you have anything to add?
I think Mai was saying something about being unapologetic earlier. It's just that a lot of the times we tend to doubt ourselves, especially as women leaders, because there's just a lot of things going against us all the time. So it's easy to doubt ourselves, but then you can't doubt yourself. Trust your gut. It's probably correct. So yeah, that's just something I've learned from all these years being an officer in ACOM, being surrounded by other people and other women who've been so confident in their decisions. It's kind of daunting to be around them sometimes because they're so sure of themselves. I really want to be able to get to that point, but I'm not yet there. But I feel like we should all be working towards that, just being confident in ourselves and being unapologetic for doing the things that we do.
Yes, and I really liked what both of you said about speaking up for what you feel. That's something I actually also learned. Like in the first semester, I really didn't speak up, even in classes, because I'm shy. But I realized that there's really nothing that is holding you back, and you should just share your thoughts. There's really nothing wrong with that, and I feel like even though I still have a lot of years ahead of me, that's something that I will take with me also. Okay, so a question actually for both of you. Would you guys have any future programs or initiatives planned down the roadmap in your orgs to further promote women empowerment? Or do you had events like this in the past?
We have had an event. We had Communicate. It was for just a trigger warning for the listeners, because our event was about empowering women and just everyone against sexual harassment. We really wanted to give a voice to people who experience that, and not just give them a voice, but equip ourselves as communicators and as media practitioners on how to make sure that we make media a safe place for people who have experienced sexual harassment and sexual assault before. So I feel like that was one of the ways that we really got to empower women. But it doesn't end there. We have to continue the discussion. We need to make sure that everything we learned from that event is actually something that we carry with us every day, and make sure that when someone comes to us, we know what to do, we know where to direct them. And shout out to Gender Hub, because they are so helpful, and they're such an amazing resource. So if you're experiencing anything like that, just you can always go to Gender Hub, because they're so nice, they're so kind and so helpful. So yes.
I think for Ateneo Assembly, like there isn't a single event, but this month we will be posting a primer of sort, just celebrating Women's Month and celebrating women in politics. So you should watch out for that. But also in general, as much as possible, what we do in Assembly is make sure that all sectors are heard. So there is that sensitivity in issues. So for instance, recently, there have been attacks regarding regarding how cases of abortion and all those issues must be addressed, especially in national debates. So a lot of candidates are talking about certain things that are not necessarily giving women the autonomy to decide for themselves. So with that, we communicated with Kmvp and said that maybe we could work together to create a statement about this, because this is something that needs to be talked about. So generally, Assembly is very sensitive to those issues, especially when there are events in local politics. because women face a lot of misogyny and just difficulty in general of being able to be taken seriously. So women are like I said, not really regarded as as equals. So a lot of the I guess criticisms against women leaders are really based on them being a woman, them not being capable, and them not being as smart or as competitive as men. And that's really frustrating. And what Assembly tries to do is make it to a point wherein politics, or in general just be women leaders, are taken seriously, and that we are able to move forward and give women the space that they deserve.
Wow. It's nice to hear that there was events or even just like small programs that like your orgs have to promote women empowerment and like people in general. And I think those steps are actually contributing to a bigger effect on our community here in the Ateneo, because like what Jen said about communicate, that can actually like raise awareness on how people act towards those things. And what Maya said about Ateneo Assembly and raising awareness on the different kinds of issues that women face, that is something that we need to talk about, and it's a good platform that you guys are setting up for us. So it's definitely a great thing that we're talking about Women's Month. But how do you guys think we should continue the movement of empowering women in the past Women's Month? And how can people actively continue this movement?
Like I said earlier, women empowerment isn't just making sure that there's women in certain positions. It's activism. You need to be active about it. You can't be passive. Otherwise, we're really not empowering anyone. So I think we just need to continue making sure that there's open discourse about it. And as a communication major, I just feel like there needs to be more media about empowered women, because a lot of the times it's like, especially in the Philippines, the media in the Philippines, it always shows women being damsels in distress, or as an object of affection of another man. So it's always hard to find those figures in Philippine media sometimes. So I think just advocating for that kind of thing and making sure that people know that that's the kind of media that we want. We want to see the empowered woman. We want to see all kinds of women, not just the normal tropes of women. So there's just a lot of things that we can do that I might not be saying.
I think aside from that, from what Jan mentioned, I think also that's very important, women in media, because oftentimes if they're not damsels in distress, and if they're actually taking up space, they become masculine figures and their femininity is stripped away from them. So that's another discussion altogether. But I think for me is understanding that the issue of gender inequality and women's empowerment must be understood, or must be seen in an intersectional lens. So there's that issue of social class, and there's that issue of education, financial capability. We have to move beyond that understanding. So I guess within Ateneo, it's very easy to say that we're all empowered women here, because that's what we see. There is that kind of a bubble wherein we are in. But we have to understand also that sometimes that idea that we are moving forward doesn't really address ills in society that actually make it difficult for women to take space. So we have to understand that the issue of women empowerment is, a lot of it is political, and being able to for example, the issue of divorce, issue of abortion. Those are issues that need to be addressed in women empowerment. Issue on education, how many women, or what's the literacy rate for women, and the issue, there are just a lot of things, financial capability as well, so the wage difference. So I guess for one, us Ateneans and us student leaders, it's crucial that we move past our understanding of a shallow women empowerment. We have to criticize what we see as what is presented as women empowerment. We have to understand the deeply rooted social issues that make it difficult for women to actually thrive. And then when we get critical, we have to do something about it, of course. And we have to continue moving and making it to a point where women, everyone, not just few women, start to believe in their capabilities and start to take responsibility, or just take ownership of their life and their decisions. So that's a mouthful, but yes, I think we could actually do something and move past our own biases of what women empowerment is, beyond the fancy graphic designs of Women Happy International Women's Day. There's a lot of things needs to be discussed about that, so we could do it.
Yeah, I think it's important to continue and create conversations about why is this a thing that's worth talking about and worth continuing. Actually, I'll just share something with you guys. My first instance of women empowerment, because when Jen mentioned damsel in distress, I immediately remembered this, like, flashback to my childhood. Do you guys know the movie Hercules, like the Disney movie? And there's a line there where Meg, she was my favorite because she was like all independent and things.
Love her.
Right? And there was a line where she's like, I'm a damsel, I'm distressed, I don't need your help, I can handle it. And I was like, okay. So that's definitely something that stuck with me through the past years, and it allowed me to continue remembering that there's so much more out there for women like me. And sometimes we need help, but most of the time we actually have enough like capabilities to do things by ourselves. So actually, we're actually coming to a conclusion for this episode. But before we actually end, there's a fast talk, which is Would You Rather. So if you guys could unmute your mics, because this is a bit snazzy, a bit fast. Okay, so the first question. You only get one experience. Skydiving or cliff diving?
Skydiving.
Cliff diving.
Really? I want to ask why, but there's no time. Okay, so the next one. A 7 a.m. class or a 3-hour-long lecture in the evening?
7 a.m.
3-hour-long class.
Me too. 3-hour-long class is way better. 7 a.m. is crazy. Next, if you could only eat one ulam for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Lumpia, but any kind of lumpia. I'm not
Tinola.
picky.
What's
For me,
yours?
tinola.
Tinola?
Mm.
Ah, interesting. Mine would be sinigang. Okay, and the next one. What's a song, movie, or TV show you recommend for our viewers to watch as we celebrate Women's Month?
Up the top of my head, Queen's Gambit. I think that was popular early pandemic, but I love Queen's Gambit.
For me, Little Women, the 2019 version, really, really good
So good.
adaptation.
Yes, I love Little Women, but I haven't watched Queen's Gambit.
You should
I'm
watch.
thinking about it. Okay, and the last question for this fast talk. In one word, what is women empowerment to you?
Community.
Institutional.
Big words.
Big words.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for participating in our fast talk. And before we end, please do invite our viewers to go to ongoing or future events and initiatives that you have in your orgs and how they can participate in them. So if you guys have any last words, it's time.
For Communicate, we actually have a few things coming out for it still. We have a documentary coming out. We have some podcasts coming out in relation to that event. Next month, we're having Media Month, which is a month-long event, just all about media. So we'll be posting about that soon.
For Ateneo Assembly, so like I said a while ago, we have the support the political primer on women in politics. But aside from that, this month we're also doing the political advocacy forum. So how can we make your advocacy political? So please do join us in that conversation, as well as we have the Ateneo Youth Model Congress. So we'll be doing that in Ateneo Assembly as well. So please join us there.
Very exciting. A lot of things in store for both of your ARGs, and I'm sure in other ARGs as well. So that has been our 12th episode for this year's Kwentuhang MVP. And thank you so much to our guests, Myra Arce and Jennifer Clemente, for talking to us about their experience as women student leaders in their orgs and celebrating women empowerment with us. And of course, a big thank you to everyone who tuned in to today's episode. We hope to see you again for next week for another round of meaningful conversations. I'm Sammy, your daily dose of energy from 1AVCom, and this has been Kwentuhang MVP.
Want to find out more about the famed org community of the Ateneo?
Yeah.
Wondering what projects and initiatives our student organizations are currently up to? Curious to hear the perspectives and motivations of the different people that make up the org community? Tara na't magkwentuhan! Kwentuhang MVP takes you to the vibrant and passionate organization community of the Ateneo de Manila. Tune in every Friday as we catch up with our student leaders and our organizations and find out how they're continually pushing forth with their advocacies. Kwentuhang MVP, taking the MVP to you.
Radyo,